Welcome to the Agent to Agent podcast, the show that connects you with top real estate professionals across the country to uncover what life is really like in their communities. So whether you are a fellow real estate agent looking for a trusted referral partner or somebody who's thinking about making a move, you'll find insider insights into what life is like in each of these communities to help you feel right at home no matter where you land. So let's jump in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Agent to Agent podcast. Excited to have you back here today, tuning in to join us. Today, I've got Tony Gantjos here on the show. Tony's out of the Jacksonville metro area here in Florida. So your go-to for whatever it is that you need in that area. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Tony so we can get to know him a little bit more. Tony, how are you doing, man?
What's going on? How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you jumping on the show with us today.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yep. So I always like just to jump kind of like into, I guess, the meat and potatoes of it, of more so just like, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like, who's Tony? How'd you get into the business? And what are you doing now?
How much time do we have?
Oh, dude, I forgot to put the timer on. No, man, we run a good little bit of time.
I'll give you guys the cliff notes.
Okay.
So I got into real estate in 2018. I officially signed with KW New Year's Eve of 2018. So going into 2019 was my very first year in real estate. Prior to that, I worked in construction with my dad, grew up working with my dad in construction, going to job sites, learning that side of the business. From 18 to about 24, before I went to work with my dad full time, I was in the car industry. I was doing all kind of other little knickknacks to try to figure out what I like to do. And come to find out, it was sales. When I had told myself at 18 years old, I'm never going to have a sales job. I'm never going to work in sales. I don't want to be a salesperson. And here I am. So I didn't graduate college. I went to college. It just wasn't for me. I was going to go the medical route, go to EMT, paramedic, and do that route. And I got halfway through, passed EMT, and took the state test, and was all the way there. And something just clicked in me. I was like, you know what? This isn't for you. And that was when I kind of worked with my dad and wanted to get into the industry. So I learned a lot about construction, how to read plans, a lot of the basics, but beyond. And then me and fathers and sons, they don't always get along, especially when they're in their early 20s. So, yeah. So me and my dad split ways, and that's when I got my real estate license. And there was some overlap. My last year working with my dad was my first year in real estate. So I was real estate part-time and then construction manager full-time for that first year. So, and the reason why I got into real estate was because I didn't go that traditional college route. I didn't go to a big college. I went to a state college here in Jacksonville. And yes, I had like high school friends, but we had all kind of disbanded. So part of the reason why I got into real estate was to build my network. Build my network, meet as many people as possible. And that kind of goes into all the KWYP stuff too, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got into real estate. Was what's the best way to build a network? Meet people. Mm-hmm. So over the past, how many years now? Almost 7-8 years. I've met a buttload of people, awesome people that I never would have met if it wasn't for this wonderful industry that we get to play in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you've got a unique, I don't want to say a unique spin, but a unique entry point into the real estate world based on some of my past conversations. Like a lot of the people who I interviewed, they got into, first of all, nobody woke up one morning and said, I want to get into real estate. Like that's the dream, right? It always seemed to have like been sparked by either a bad experience themselves,
Mhm.
they were making a home purchase or doing a home sale, or just felt like the need to serve in a community aspect. And not that
Right.
that's a driving motivator for you, but I do find it interesting that it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you used real estate as the vehicle to build a network. Like your goal was to build a network, and you used real estate as the vehicle in order to do that, not necessarily getting in to the business because you wanted to get into the business, but because you saw that as the best vehicle to build that network that you were looking to build.
Exactly. That goes into kind of where I am today and where my business is going to go moving forward. So, I was a solo agent for almost 4 years, 4.5 years, solo agent. Went through some personal turmoil and was like, where am I going to go? Because I was kind of stuck, if
Mhm.
you will. And so I joined the largest real estate team in Northeast Florida, the Welch team. I'll shout them out always because they helped me so much grow just personally, um, business wise, leadership, all the things. I owe a lot to where I am today to that team. Um, and just a few months ago, I decided to step off the team. And that was a big deal for me because I do respect them a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but for where I was going in my business, I needed to do it on my own. I learned everything I needed from them. Um, and now and this is breaking news. Um, I'm launching my team. It's called Arion Collective.
Awesome. Arion.
Arion Collective. So this is the first time it's getting kind of publicized. It hasn't been on Facebook yet. Hasn't been on Instagram. This is breaking
This
news.
is going out into the ether on this podcast right now.
Yes.
I love that. I feel humbled. I feel humbled.
Yeah.
So
So
where did
we're
Arion come from? Where's the meaning in the team name?
so I wanted to I didn't want to use my personal name in my team name. And the reason for that is it goes along with the legacy. If I was to ever leave my sales business and I have someone as CEO of my sales team,
Mhm.
who's Tony Gantjos? Who's they're not coming to the listing appointments anymore. I mean, I might still here and there, but I have bigger plans.
Right.
Um, so I wanted to one not use my last name, as easy as it would be to use the Gantjos group. Everyone's a group. Everyone uses their last name. I wanted to be different. Um, and then Arion and I wanted to kind of tie into my Greek roots also.
Okay.
So Arion is from Greek mythology, and he's um, he's a majestical horse. Basically, he's born of Poseidon, and he's um,
He's born from Poseidon.
born
Poseidon's
born from Poseidon. Correct.
okay.
Um, so it's strength, excellence, and I forget the third one, but strength and excellence essentially is what Arion means. Um, and that's kind of what I wanted to build the team off of is strength and excellence.
I love that. That's awesome. I think that you got that. That's great that you're thinking ahead as far as because I've had similar thought processes too with like how building a team. You use the
Yeah.
name, do you not use the name? Like you think about legacy and you move on.
Right.
And how does that impact the potential future business or people's interpretation of how they're going to interact with you.
Yep.
So I think that's great. I'm in the process of kind of like rebranding kind of
Mhm.
myself outside of my name for that exact purpose. So um, that's very cool, man. So what are your long-term goals, right? So like it sounds like you had something really great with the team. You learned a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you didn't leave for it not being a great place. Just seems
Right.
like that you guys just kind of met we're at a fork in the road, and where you wanted to go
Exactly. Exactly.
wasn't
I was at a
necessarily
Yeah, I was at a fork in the road, and I could have continued the team fork,
Mhm.
or do I take the risk and go on my own again? And it took me a long time weighing the pros and cons of both. And at the end of the day, looking at what my dad has built over the past 38 years in his business, I see a lot of that in myself too, as far as the entrepreneurial side of things.
okay.
And my dad kind of was at a fork in the road in 2001. He was working for all these other builders doing stuff for other people. And in 2001, he took the risk and got his own his own builder's license. And now he's been doing it for himself for 24 years. So, very kind of similar path. Um, Almost honestly at the same age too, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
25 years ago, yeah, my dad was 35 years old. So I just turned 35 a few months ago. So very, very similar age, very similar um, kind of forks, if you will. So my main goal now I'm still focused on my sales business. That's what's going to fund my future plans.
Mhm.
Um, because right now I'm planning on getting my own construction license. Not my GC, but I'm going to do the BC because I don't plan on ever building anything more than 3 stories. There's a big difference between GC and CBC. I don't know
Okay.
if you knew that. GC
I think
is commercial. GC is
yeah.
commercial, 3 stories and higher. CBC,
Okay.
you can build up to 3 stories.
What does CBC stand for?
Construction building contractor.
Okay.
I
So you can
think.
build up to a 3-story structure.
Yeah, we can build up to a 3 story structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
So
I honestly, I just learned something new today. I didn't realize that
yeah,
I didn't realize that was a thing.
yeah. So there's a difference. So GC is way more intense schooling because you're dealing with literal high-rise buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I only plan on ever staying in residential. I don't ever plan on going more into commercial building, or I have no knowledge of that. Could I do it? Sure, but I'm going to stick in my lane with residential. Um, so my part of my new like marketing and rebranding is using what I've learned with my dad, and I've run into people all the time who need to build on their own lot. They've bought a lot, but now they have no idea what to do next.
Mm.
So, and there's a lot of these bigger production builders that will not build on someone else's lot. There's a handful out there, but your KBs, your Lennars,
Yeah, they won't do it.
they won't do it. So I found that there's a gap in that, and and that's that's what I'm going after.
That's awesome. So how are you gonna how does that whole process right there get set up, right? Like are you planning on being like, do you envision it being like complete custom home design, or are you envisioning having like a selective like footprint or basic models, if you will, that you can kind of like build and
Yeah.
build off of? Like, how are you
probably
seeing?
probably a mixture of both. I want it to be kind of a la carte
Okay.
for the customer. And if they want to do a full custom build, I have the tools and resources for engineers and plans and all that stuff. I have the resources for it. Now it's obviously a more expensive route to go to do a full custom with
Mm-hmm.
engineering and full custom plans. Like just to get a set of custom plans is about $12,000.
Yeah, you've got to like
Um,
employ an architect and a
yep,
designer and all of that stuff, right?
yep, yep, exactly. So it's more expensive, but also between my dad and I, like we have a handful of plans that we can take and alternate and change things to make it more semi-custom. So that's kind of where I want to bridge the gap, not the full-blown production. They just
Yeah.
throw them up in 6 months. I want to kind of be that the middle ground where you're doing semi-custom and custom stuff.
Okay. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of customers right now who are in that situation that you're unable to, to meet that need, which is like a driving factor for you to do that? Or are you just
Yep.
seeing that in the broader marketplace that
Well,
you can actually take that
kind
there's
of kind of
opportunity there?
both. Kind of both. I have a handful of customers now who, I mean, they bought land with me 2 years ago, and they're just waiting to build something. Um, so that's kind of where and then looking at the broader picture too, because here at the beaches, people are, and this is a whole different sidebar. I wish I would have bought a house at the beach 15 years ago because no one wanted to live in Jack's Beach 15 years ago. Now everyone all of a sudden wants to live there, and they're tearing all the original houses down and they're building McMansions. It's crazy. So the last time I drove by the beach, I saw 3 brand new builds happening that were old, not studios, but just a basic 2-1, 2-2
Yeah.
kind of shack kind of deal. And now they're building on stilts a freaking 2-story McMansion.
Wow.
It's crazy. So seeing
Interesting.
all of that and what I've dealt with in my personal business, it's like there's a gap here.
Okay. When do you see yourself? What's your timeline? Like when you're planning this out, like, you're starting your new team,
Yep.
that's going to support these longer term goals. Like, do you have an
Right.
idea of like when you're wanting to have this more incorporated and this be kind of like something that you're able to service on?
Yeah. So my goal up until I get my own CBC license is I
Mm-hmm.
can use my dad's license for now. If I have a customer who needs to build something, me and him have an agreement for that. But honestly, my plan is by this time next year is to be in the class for my building license.
Okay.
So about 12 months.
All right. Awesome. That's going to be here before you know it.
I know.
I like,
This year has came and gone like nothing.
it really has. I was just talking to somebody earlier today who I met at family reunion earlier this year, and I'm like,
Mhm.
who it's been like almost 10 months. What is it, 9 months or something like that? Like, that's crazy. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
I was in Greece at family reunion this year, and I'm like, I feel like it was 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much has happened in that time span. It feels like 5 years has gone by.
Yeah. I feel like as we get older or just experience more, it's so interesting how we experience time changes.
It.
Various different things, whether it's because you're doing new stuff in business, whether it's because you have
Mhm.
kids now versus then, whether it's because whether it's because you're older,
Right.
whatever. It's just wild. It's a crazy thing.
It's crazy.
So, Well, so we kind of touched a little bit on, because I joined it earlier this year. It's been probably one of the
Mhm.
better joins that I've done.
Yeah.
I've loved it. But we touched a little bit on KWYP, right? Which
Yep.
is, of course, Keller Williams Young Professionals. And I'm kind of curious, like, how did you get introduced to that group, or that organization? And
Yeah.
how long have you been in it, and like what's your experience been with KWYP?
Yeah. So kind of like you, I joined in family reunion, but when it was in Orlando, what was that? 2022,
Yeah.
23?
Well, wasn't it here was it here 2 years? No, it was only here 1 year. I think it
No,
was
I
in
was only there
Vegas
once.
2 years.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it was 2020. I think it was 2023. Year are we in right now?
2022. It was 2022.
2022. Yeah. 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 I was in 2022.
It's 2022. So I joined February family reunion 2022.
Okay.
And it was just it was the last day they were packing up. And I was like, I'd seen the YP booth every day because they always have a very strategic placement of that booth every single event. So I would walk by it 4, 5, 6 times a day, it seemed like. And the last day, I didn't know who she was at the time, but Cammy was the only one sitting there, and I went up and talked to her and asked her what this was about, and we had probably a good 10, 15-minute conversation about it. And that's kind of how I got into the president role for our area, because there was no one in the role, and I wanted to do it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to push myself. Prior to, I had never been interested in any type of leadership. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to push myself to do this. And that's kind of where we started. And my very, very first major YP event wasn't until the summit in 2023.
Okay.
So it was almost a year and a half before I actually met some of these people that I've been seeing online for a year plus in person. And I will tell you, I probably spent the last bit of money that I had in my checking account at the time to go to that event. Um, and it was right after a divorce. I was broke. I just was probably one of the lowest points of my entire life. Because when I got married, I never planned or wanted to get divorced. No one does.
Yeah.
But shit in life happens. And you got to take it kind of as it is and grab life by the horns and take the last couple $1,000s that you have in your account and take a 3-day trip to Texas.
That's prescription from the doctor.
And do I regret it? No. Going to that event probably changed my entire life. I was going to get out of the industry. I was, like I said, I spent the last couple $1,000s in my account to go to that event. And it was well worth it. Just because those relationships that kind of were created online in a
Mm-hmm.
weird way, and our parents used to tell us growing up, don't talk to strangers online. Like, that's so
Don't talk to strangers online. Don't get into a car with a stranger.
yeah, stranger danger.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
And
take food from
and
strangers.
here I was, 2023, 32, 33 years old, getting in a car with a stranger with 8 other people that I've never met before.
Mom would be so proud.
My mom would be so proud. But it honestly, it changed my life. And ever since then, I will never miss a KWYP summit. And I will forever be grateful to what KWYP has done for me personally. And I wish everyone who was not in KW or not in YP right now could just experience just an ounce of what we get to experience when we're all together. It will literally change your mindset of life and business and all the things.
So how did that impact you, right? So like was it the relationships? Was it what was going on? Like just I mean, I feel like some people, they may listen to this and be like, okay, I'm going to join this organization and my life
Yeah.
is going to be better. Right. But like, clearly you and I both know that's
Right.
not how it works. So like,
Right.
how did you utilize, I don't like using that word because it makes it sound very selfish, but like, how did KWYP become the vehicle to change
Yeah.
your life? Like you had just mentioned.
So there's a handful of people, and I'll name names that I met that were going through something very similar that I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there just kind of already made me put myself at ease, because it's like, okay, these people are very similar age to you and they're going through something very similar. So it's okay to be going through and feeling how you're feeling, because you're not alone.
Right.
And I think that's the beautiful part about this group that we're in and get blessed to be a part of, honestly, is because you're not alone.
Mm.
You're not alone in going through the things that you think you're alone going through. There's at least one other person that is going through or has gone through something that you're going through currently.
Right.
And even like in classes that, like Bold, for instance, my Bold group this past time, there was people that were like, I don't want to say anything because I feel like I'm the only one that's going through this. And I literally told them what I just said, like, you don't know what someone else is going through. They might come up to you because you're brave enough to stand up there in front of 60 other people and tell and speak your truth. You don't know it, but you probably helped someone that was in that crowd listening. But they're not going to say it because they're too ashamed or too whatever. But they're always going to remember, well, so and so said this, she's not alone, so maybe I could reach out to her on a different time. So it's, you're not alone when you think you're going through stuff, that hard life stuff.
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that you were able to find that tribe that it sounded like you needed at that time,
Yep.
and it's evolved into something else completely,
Yeah.
I'm sure. And I think that it's just, one of those things where, we get into our head quite a bit and think that we're the only ones who are going through this, or we get
Yeah.
like very granular, right? Very specific. Like nobody's
Yeah,
going through
sure.
this exact thing that I'm going through, so they can't really understand whatever that may be. But to your point, like you mentioned, your table at Bold was, you
Mhm.
never know how your story could impact somebody else. And the only way that
Exactly.
impact can actually happen is if you share that story. So if you've got the
Mhm.
courage and the bravery to be able to stand up and share that story, you have no idea who that could impact and what potential doors may even open for yourself just by being
Exactly.
like that.
Being vulnerable. And I think that was something that I had to learn too, was it's okay to be vulnerable. Like my sign is a Cancer, so I'm very like, I keep to myself. I take everything and I internalize it until I have to molt out of that skin. So I had to learn that it's okay to be vulnerable and like speak your truth and tell your story, because you may not know who you're going to help, because someone has gone through something very similar.
Absolutely. I can relate to you on that Cancer note. That's what yeah. Yeah. Speaking to my soul right there on that one. So, well, good stuff, man. Well, so I know that we kind of talk a little bit about, I don't want to segue because I feel like you and I could probably just continue to chat and chat and
We
chat.
could talk for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll save the audience from,
Yeah.
that. But
They don't want to
I'd
hear
love
our
for you to-
banter.
yeah, I'd love for you to share, for those who are still with us right now, right? It's like, so tell us a little bit about the areas that you serve, the areas that you live in. Like what is life like? What kind of
Yeah.
community is there? And, for somebody who doesn't
Yeah.
know really what it is, like help us get a better picture.
The best explanation that I can explain Jacksonville, and just Jacksonville Metro. So for people who don't know about Jacksonville, Jacksonville encompasses about 4 surrounding counties. Actually 5. So if you go from the Florida Georgia line, you have Nassau County. Then you go down the county, it's Duval, Then you go down one more county, and it's St. John's. And then you go to the west of the river, and you have Clay County and Baker County is up there. And then you have like the other smaller counties like Putnam, Flagler. It kind of all, it's basically the entire Jacksonville viewing area is Jacksonville, or what people from Jacksonville consider Jacksonville. I'm born and raised here. Haven't lived outside of any of the surrounding counties. I've lived in Clay County. I currently live in St. Johns County, and I was born and raised in Duval County. And I tell people, Jacksonville is the biggest small town that you will ever find. There's over 1 million people that live here, but everyone seems to know everybody. As crazy as that seems, I cannot go anywhere in the area without running into at least one person that I know.
That's so
and
cool.
It's crazy. Like
I live in a
Orlando,
small
you can't.
town. I'll run, and
Yeah.
I live in a small town. I know that there's people who live here because I see them on social media. Like, and I'm like, where are you guys at? Like, I don't run into anybody sometimes. So that's so cool that that's the experience up there.
Yeah. So, and Jacksonville has the most coastline of any major city in the continuous United States. Don't know if anyone. Yes, has the most amount of coastline in the continental U.S. because we have the St. Johns River and we have the beaches.
Oh, so you're counting the shores of the St. Johns as part of the coastline?
As part of the coastline.
I did not know that. That's a very cool, interesting fact.
Yeah. So Jacksonville is very unique because you have everything from the beaches. You have your canals and tributaries. You have river living. You have equestrian. And everything else in between. We have it. So if you want to live at the beach and have a beach house, we have it. If you want to live on the intercoastal, we have it. If you want to live on the river and have a dock and take your boat to the Jags game, don't get me started on that. And
yeah, they're coming to us for the next couple of years. You're going to come visit.
Yeah. You can take your boat down to the Jazz game because they have a dock that you can literally park your boat, go to the game, and come back and drive your boat home. And if you want to have equestrian, you want to have land, we have that too. And it's literally the melting pot of, I think, the Southeast. We pretty much have every type of person, from Black, white, Hispanic, Indian, everything that you can imagine. They all live in Jacksonville. Like, we're the melting pot.
Very diverse.
Very diverse. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. We are, we are a very, very diverse region of Florida. Could you say Miami is as diverse? Maybe. Orlando is probably the closest to Jacksonville as diversity gets.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jacksonville tops it. Just because of the type of living that we have here, and we have the most amount of golf courses in the state, actually probably in the Southeast. Man, golf courses in Jacksonville are like Starbucks. There's literally one on every other corner.
But how many of them are private versus how many of them are open to the public?
It's probably split 50-50. If I had to take a guess, I don't know the exact number, but if I had to guess, it's probably about split 50-50.
So do you play?
I don't, believe it or not. That's one of the hobbies that I want to get into. And the excuse is I can't find the time, but that's complete BS because there's always time. You can always make time for the things you want to do.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That it's not even a bold law, and it should be.
No, it's not a bold law, but maybe we can send this to Gary and be like, hey,
Yeah, maybe Gary will listen to us.
Yeah,
Just two guys in Florida.
There's two random dudes in Florida coming up with bold laws. Like, you can make time for the things you want to do.
That's so cool. I'm still like, look, we're talking here, and I'm still like, I don't know why my mind is still hanging on the coastline fact that you just did. Because I'm just picturing. I was like, I know how big California is, and I'm just picturing that, and we're not backtracking to the coastline thing. That's sitting in my head. I'm gonna go and look at a map after our conversation.
Look at the map. Look at the coastline from the Georgia line all the way down to basically the south end of St. Johns County. Look at A1A, all of the coastline down A1A, and then you go to the river. You have east and west sides of the river coastline all the way down.
Well, in St. John's, I mean, so I live in Claremont and Lake County, right? And so like almost all the majority, we've got like the chain of lakes in Claremont. I think it's 13 lakes, and it all gets fed by the same. It gets fed by the St.
It's fed by the St. John's. Yep.
Yeah, like I remember like early 2000s? Had to have been early 2000s when we're dealing with all that drought and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember being able to walk through. They closed the locks from the St. John's. And so like, I remember our water levels, like the shoreline, right, where the lakes are, it was back. I don't know. I don't even think I'm exaggerating. It had to have been back like 50 yards in some areas. It was crazy. Like I remember standing in the middle of the lake.
That's insane.
Because and I'm just like, it's just wild. So anyways, yes, I guess I can imagine. I mean, the St. John's is just a very important, it's a very important river. And I do believe, right, it is the only river that flows north.
It's one of the only ones in the world that flow south to north.
South to north, yeah. Which is very interesting too.
Very rare and interesting. I don't know how, but
I
think it's because the spring it's spring fed. The St. John's, people don't realize like the St. John's River is spring fed because it starts down there and like I think it's south of you guys, and it pushes all the way up.
Yeah, and where we're at, I'm on what's called the Lake Wales Ridge, so we're actually like 370 feet above sea level.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that before.
Yeah, which is like that's kind of crazy, but I guess I don't know. Everybody knows what gravity is. I'm sure that plays some type of role in getting the water from here to you. So
I'm sure. And then once it gets up to a certain point, I think it's around Palatka, the water turns brackish.
Brackish? Like that, like tea color?
Because it mixes with the salt water from the Atlantic Ocean. So yeah, it turns that tea color.
Interesting. So we got tea color here, but that comes from the sap of the trees.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at that. That's kind of interesting. Here we are.
Here we are.
Podcast talking about rivers and water.
Fun. We have to kind of know a lot about this stuff because people might ask, like.
Well, it's just like fun facts.
Yeah, the fun facts about the state that we live in.
So, well, cool, man. Well, so tell us a little bit about like part of this podcast too is also helping people get connected, whether it's buyers or sellers or consumers who are looking for agents in different areas, or also just agents connecting with other agents. So, I'd love to chat a little bit with you about like what it is that you expect from agents who you have referrals to send to, and then vice versa. Like, what can they expect from you if a referral is inbound, right? Like, how do you service? Like, what can they just expect from that experience?
Yeah, I think it's just like with any regular customer, it's just down to the communication. If you don't have good communication with your referral partners and let them know, especially if they sent you a referral, like if you don't let them know what's going on or kind of transpiring, it's the communication breaks down and you lose the client or you lose the referral. So it just goes on to communication. And when I receive a referral, I love the 3-way or 4-way text message. I think that's probably the biggest thing is the intro to the customer. Obviously, we have communication beforehand, but the text intro I think is the best thing. And one of my lender partners actually this is a whole nother tech tip, set up text templates using quick text. So you know how like if you put OMW like on your iPhone,
Yeah.
he literally set that up for his lending clients. So I'm in the process of right now doing the same thing for my referral partners. My referrals were saved and sent. I'm about to have a whole entire just playlist of quick text instead of having to worry about typing out a whole novel and just going throughout the process. Hey, we're looking at homes. Like they signed a buyer broker agreement. We're going to go out and start looking at homes. They're going to look at new construction, or they're going to do this A, B, C, D, and it's going to keep the communication rolling.
Yeah.
So that's actually something I learned this past week that I'm like, holy crap! Like instead of having to send an email or because it can get daunting sometimes too, but we literally have this thing sitting with us 24/7. Who doesn't want to go in and be like, send a text and just be like, step 1 or new construction step 1 or referral step 1 or step 5, and it literally just have it already built out for you.
Yeah. No, that's great. I do have text shortcuts, but I never thought about implementing it into, like, I always use them for like kind of like one-off texts, right? Like I use it for reverse prospecting if I need, because you can pound it. I can just, do it real quick. But I never thought about utilizing it more in the function of like a system of communication.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to start. My downtime, I'm going to be building out some of them. Thanks for that. From one lender to an agent to another agent.
From a lender to an agent to another agent, and to whoever watches this, like he sent me all of his quick links and like how he sends them out and when he sends them out. I was like that's brilliant. It's brilliant.
We might connect a little bit more.
Yeah.
On this.
It's brilliant.
Outside the podcast.
Yeah, outside the podcast, because I know we're probably running out of time pretty soon. But I mean, it's all about communication, just like it is with our regular clients. You communicate with me, I'm going to communicate with you, however much and however less, because I'm going to ask these questions how I would with the buyer or a seller. How often do you want me to communicate with you, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have a very similar conversation to how I would any buyer or seller. How frequently do you want to be communicated with? How not? Do you want to know every detail or just the cliff notes? I'm going to get all that information in front, just so that we're not over communicating or under communicating.
Right.
I mean, you can never really over communicate, but people get annoyed. Like, I don't know why you're sending me this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're kind of boiling it down to is just like the expectations, right? So like whatever those communications expectations are, but just so both you as the agent and the consumer client on the other end, you guys know when to expect. So if it's every Tuesday you're going to get this, and every Friday you're going to get that, like they know, and then you deliver on that.
And you systematize it and you roll with it.
Absolutely. Well, awesome, man. I know that we've been chatting for a while. I really enjoyed the conversation. Actually,
we can continue talking for hours, I feel like, but
we could. But we got to leave stuff for like the next summit and family reunion, and one of the many calls that we're probably going to end up jumping on. We can't give the whole playbook out all on the podcast.
Not all at once.
Not all at once. So how can, if anybody wants to connect with you, Tony, like what's the best way for them to get connected with you? Social, email, phone?
So I'm on social media, Instagram. I'm not hard to find. My handle is living in Jacksonville. And then my cell phone number. I'm literally on it all the time. Like I said, it's 904-891-3555, 3 and 3 5s.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's 3 and 3 5s. Call me, text me, shoot me an email. I'm not great with email. I don't read them all the time or as frequently as I probably should, but call, text, Instagram. It's not hard to get a hold of me or find me.
Yeah. Sweet. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Was there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with before we jump off the call?
No, I think we kind of already hit it. Was you can make the time for the things that you want to do. I'm going to end it there. I think that's a solid kind of line to leave this off of, is you can find the time to do the things that you want to do.
I love that. And with that, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Agent to Agent podcast. Big shout out to Tony Gantjos for joining us. Tony, thanks for jumping in and sharing a little bit about yourself and your experience in the industry. And we look forward to, maybe even having you on a future show as this continues to roll out.
I love it. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks, man. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Agent to Agent podcast, where we connect you with the people and the places that help make moving feel easier. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow along for insider looks at communities across the country. And connect with me if you'd like help getting connected with a trusted agent, no matter where life takes you. We'll see you next time.